Okay, I was mistaken, and I'm not being told going back and forth. I was mistaken. What it was is it was Jonatus. It was strictly Jonatus because Sandra Long had spoken to Jonatus about doing this, and it was strictly Jonatus who did the back of my legs and my ankles and my feet. I wasn't Duncan, it was Jonatus. You have to understand something about this whole thing, this whole process, and I don't know if it works out with other people, is that I compartmentalize things, and as I get healed, the more I get healed within my mind, and the more I get healed over the trauma, I start to remember who it was, when it was, and how it was. So I don't want to go into details. That it wasn't Duncan, it was Donatus, and the reality is anything between me and Duncan that had happened, it happened in St. Catharines. It happened at and a Come Up Here conference. But generally speaking, it was all in St. Catharines, and where he would fly into North Carolina, fly into Buffalo from North Carolina, or fly into Toronto. And then, it was at the Come Up Here conference, and so that was the only thing that happened between me and Duncan, and up at the Come Up Here conference. And there was the conference that, when was it? When I was at the Salmon Hotel, and then somebody called the police, and I was trespassed because I couldn't go into the Salmon Hotel. So I went to the Courtyard Marriott down in Mississauga. So that was that. I think it was in 2024. So that was the last time. And the rest, I mean, with my legs and everything, that's all been Jonas Regato. And it was not most recently. It was back, generally speaking, 2023 and 2024, and so that's that. So that's what you have to understand. I mean, there have been times when Duncan has been in town where I have been, or people like Dallas Smithson had been told to come and get me and stuff like that, or Zachary Lanu and everything, or Jonas Regato. But the thing is that I never came, and I know that he's been in town recently, and I've seen him around here, and I've seen him, but I can't, I mean, obviously I'm not going to see him, right? Obviously not. And obviously that's not going to happen ever again. And you have to remember something too, because people question me about the relationships that I'm in now, and the relationships that I have with Duncan. Duncan was not the same person as he was back in 2022, 2023, as he is now. He was not that person. And you could say, oh yes, Michelle, you're just like blinded because you were in love and he was lying to you. Yes, he was lying to me. Yes, he stole from me. Yes, he tried to destroy me. Yes, he left me without an address two times. Yes, he lied about giving me money. Yes, he made me lie. Yes, to others. And yes, he isolated me. But those were things that he did, and that I'm healed from, and that I move forward. And in a relationship I'm in now, it has nothing to do with that, and has nothing at all. Jonas Regato, he acted, this is for me only, and this isn't for anybody else, okay? So I just want to speak about that for a second. Jonas Regato had wanted to be my companion back in like after COVID, and that's what they were setting out to do, mostly because Jonas Regato no one would be here, but he didn't know how old I was. There's something that I need to explain here in regards to all of the companionship things, and all those clauses. And when I speak about clauses, the clauses, there's this book of clauses, that's what it's called, the book of clauses. It's like a rule book for the men, for what they have for their women. And I don't agree with any of it. So Jonas Regato, you have to be 10 years apart. That's the minimum. I don't know how old he is. I think he's in his 30s. I don't really care, mind you. Duncan is 65. Duncan is 10 years older than me, and because I'm 56, because he would always say he joked because he got it in under the wire, because his birthday is 5 or 6 days before mine, but 10 years, 5 days and 10 years before mine. And then my birthday's in 1969. So Jonas Fugate had always been jealous. He is maniacal. We've spoken about this before. He's maniacal. John Arnott brought him back from a mental asylum, basically down in Brazil. They're not wellness facilities, down in Brazil, because Melanie was pregnant for 3 months. Melanie was 3 months pregnant, so he had left and he had gone to this mental wellness facility. Anyways, besides being completely demonic and besides being completely maniacally, and he has a mental illness and all of that, he's also has got this like fatal attraction thing. So that's why he continuously stalks me, and he continuously has it in his mind about how and he would go around, and that's how he would actually develop this whole thing, where he would go around to different places of employment, stating that he was my husband or my boyfriend or my husband, that he didn't want me to work, and I was applying for work and pulling applications and telling all this kind of stuff, lies basically. And then so anyway, he's very violent, and obviously he's also not only violent, is that he's also part of the enemy's camp. Jonas Fugate is also, he's a warlock and dabbles in witchcraft. You don't dabble, you are. He is involved in a lot of witchcraft and certain things like that, and that is part and parcel to why my legs look the way they do. And I am uncomfortable wearing capri pants or shorts, but that's just something I have to deal with. My relationship with Duncan, there were only twice that it became violent, and that was because I am the way I am. I'm very outspoken. Man, I'm very not outspoken. Say something, do something, I say no, and it became a situation where I would get slapped or where he would throw me up against the wall. That was twice with him, okay? Jonas Fugate he was never my companion. He actually had very, very jealous, as well as the fact that because he is, I guess he's in his 30s. I want to say he's in his 30s, maybe early 40s by now. But he could never fulfill any of the clauses. He was told by Sandra Long to kind of, look at me, and so was Melanie, in terms of, because there's the clause, right? The clause where the wife has to agree with the woman to be the companion. So Kate Daniel Smith had to agree with the fact that Duncan wanted me as a companion, and that I had no choice in the matter because I'm single. So that's why, and those are all the clauses. And those single women who became companions to men at Castle Toronto, Castle Raleigh, or whoever, it did not have a choice, and you were never given a choice. And the reason was it became something like, wow, you were chosen, especially to be chosen by the president of the church, right? Which actually it became, and that's why I was actually homeless, and that's why, because I listened to the lies, and you're fed these lies and things about how it's really great and it's really such a prestige. And that's all Melanie. Melanie has been conditioned for the majority of her young adult life to be, when she's married to Jonas, and that it's really a prestigious thing to be someone who completely has raping schedules and just, no, I get to do this, They don't want their women educated, they don't want them to think, and they don't want them to speak. And that's what they're used for, because essentially they're used for sex. It's like I spoke about before, about how they're sexually exploited. The women are sexually exploited, and they get into it unknowingly, with all delusions. Like, I'm going to use a Star Wars thing from a movie. saying from the movie Delusions of Grandeur, and you're going to get money, because people say I'm still Duncan's companion. I can't be Duncan's companion, because if I still was, I would have up to $75,000 now, because back in 2022, where are we? We're 2026, I would have received $2,000 a month from him. I would have received an apartment from him here in Etobicoke. I would have been set up very nicely, I might add, not having to work, and education, maybe yes, maybe no, because that's what happened to certain people. They want to go to university or college. Well, I'm sorry, you have to be available and ready when I want to have sex with you. Okay, that's what it's for. That's what it was. So Jonas Regato, he missed the whole thing in terms of the clauses and the time frame, because I could be his mother actually, and because I'm 56 and he's in his 30s, so there's like a 20-year age gap. And the other thing is well, I don't know if Melanie liked me or not, but she did. Maybe she pretended, and so that is what that is. And the other thing too is I left. I was not a member of the church. I'm not a member of the church anymore, right? I haven't been a member of the church since 2023, October 18th of 2023 actually. And so for them to continuously, that's all Sandra Long, right? Because she didn't want to give me any money. In which I had a lawyer, and the lawyer had got me a certain amount of money, but and I've spoken about this before, so it's just an ongoing thing. And sometimes, like, I just wanted to come back basically and say, no, it wasn't Duncan had done this to my legs. But it's just kind of, when I get into it and I start talking about it, and I know our Heavenly Father has healed me from a whole bunch, and then there's so much more. And that's why I constantly wear pink, because there's so much I've spoken about to the police, and my lawyer knows, and it just becomes, it's so, because I'm so beyond that right now. And in terms of the microphone and the camera and what's happened and everything like that, and that has been discovered by the Toronto Regional Police and everything, as far as I'm concerned, they don't exist. And that pisses them off. But it just becomes one thing after another, and it continues on, and it continues on, and they link it to people like Samantha Cook and everybody. And so sometimes it can become overwhelming, and I don't like to go back there, because I don't like to go back to the person who I was. I don't like to go back to, because once you get set free from that whole thing, once you get set free from being a companion, once you get set free from speaking out, and you say about a betting schedule or a raping schedule, I was going to get a piece of paper, and you rip it, and you say, there you go, Mary Audrey, there you go, Melanie, there you go, Sandra, and excuse me, F you, this is what we're doing, this is why we're speaking, this is what the revolution and the movement is about. It's like saying to those men like Jonas Regato, who did this to my legs, and saying this, you know what, we're not putting up with it anymore. We're not putting up with you impregnating the Nigerian community. We're not putting up with you raping the Ukrainian community. We're not putting up with you using children for pornographic movies. We're not putting up with that anymore. We're speaking out. We're moving forward, and the police are arresting people, and the police are taking this, and it may not look like they're arresting, and it may look like they're getting out on parole or whatever they're doing, but believe me, they're so in this. And I don't like to go back to St. Catharines and think about everything that happened back there, because I've been healed from it, and because I've moved forward with my life. But because of the fact, people like in Toronto, in that office, like Sandra, like Johnson, like Melanie, like whoever, they start to speak about saying, no, she's going back to St. Catharines. No, she lives in St. Catharines. I don't have a life in St. Catharines. I look across that lake and I think, that's not me. That's not the woman who came to Mississauga over, 3 years ago. That's not the woman who came to Etobicoke over a year and a half ago. That's not the woman who has been healed, who puts every single moment of every single day is our Heavenly Father's, and who relies on Him for every single thing and has been given so very much. Don't fall back into that. I don't fall back into that. So that's all I wanted to say. That's it.